Can we all just agree that Badwater is the best map in TF2? It's a pretty common sentiment that most players have. This is the map I have the most hours on by far, just because of how fun it is, and it feels like a new game every single match. There's always something interesting going on. After recreating 2 Fort, I realized just how bad it is from a design point, so I wanted to work on a map that actually has a good layout. The main reason I didn't start with Badwater is because of the sheer size of it compared to the fenced-in nature of Harvest and the recognizable look of 2 Fort. But one lonely summer night, I finally decided to get up and make Badwater, and it was easily the most fun I've had creating a map. Starting with the terrain, I immediately ran into issues. UEFN doesn't have very many terrain samples to choose from, so I had to find a desert landscape texture myself by looking through the files. And it worked fine, until I started to make the tunnel and blue spawn near the first point. You're able to paint holes in the terrain which you can then walk through while still having terrain above you. But since I didn't use the normal way of importing a landscape, it didn't want to work. I'm not going to pretend like I know what any of this means, and I very well could be wrong, but this is my game theory on what happened. Every landscape material is made with a slope mask, which is what allows the holes to be painted within the terrain. But since I didn't choose a fully functional desert texture, it did not come with a slope mask, which made me unable to paint any holes within the terrain. So, I turned to YouTube tutorials, and after learning what I had to do, I just began to cry. I would have to create my own material using textures from Fortnite and putting them all together to create a functional desert biome. But there was still one issue with the slope mask, which for some reason you are unable to get inside of the Fortnite editor. The way you get it is to open up the actual Unreal Engine editor, create it inside there, then copy it back into Fortnite. But finally, after a lot of frustration and 3 days of work, I finished the desert material and could finally put holes within the sides of cliffs. And things were mostly smooth sailing for a bit. I had created the 3 points and was more than halfway done, until I decided that I wanted to get the actual train models from TF2 and just plop them right in there. There's literally no train model in Fortnite or on the Fab store, so I settled with using the actual models and asked a friend of mine to snag them from the game files and send them to me. But of course, the problems don't end there. For some reason, after importing the models and textures, Fortnite decides it wants to cause a problem for no reason and changes certain aspects of the textures which cause errors within the editor. But after setting everything back to what it should have been, we were back on track. I had finished the final point as well as both red spawn bases. Now it was time once again to add every class from TF2 into Fortnite. With the release of the new season, I was super excited for all the new weapons that fit perfectly with the mercs from TF2. The sticky launcher for demo, the business turret for engineer, and the EMP for spy. But they were not in creative, and it would remain that way for 2 weeks after starting this project. But after the first update, the sticky launcher and shieldbreaker EMP were finally added, but there was still the problem of the turrets. Funny enough, you are actually able to get the turrets within creative, but it is only through opening chests, and they function perfectly fine within creative, but they did not want to cooperate with the class designers and refused to be part of the loot pool. And to this day, the turrets are nowhere to be found within creative, which, unfortunately, means that the engineer is without his turret, and spy is unable to disable any devices with the EMP. But I promise that as soon as the turrets are added, I will update the map as fast as I can and add them in. I also improved the weapons and functionality of all the classes. Most notably, Soldier now has a rocket ram instead of impulses, Pyro has an explosive goo gun, Medic is equipped with a Cupid's crossbow, and Sniper now has a thermal fish to help him with finding players and stink bombs to act as his Giratis. I was considering adding subclasses like Trolldier, Demo Knight, or Fat Scout, but felt that they would not be a good fit and would only clutter up the selection screen. I especially wanted to add Trolldier, but ultimately scrapped the idea. But for anyone who is willing to work for their reward, I've left some secrets around the map. Let's see if you can find them. And now the part I'm sure you've all been waiting for. Did I actually add the payload system into the game as well? Short answer, no. At the moment, there is no possible way to create a payload system using the regular Fortnite devices we have right now. I am more than positive that it can be created using verse code, but I have never coded anything in my entire life, and no one that I knew had any idea on how to code in verse. I looked everywhere and asked a lot of people, but no one could come up with anything. However, there is a fully functional payload map that someone else has recently created. This map was created by Replay Builds and features a fully functional payload cart that can turn 90 degrees and detect when players are near it. So, Replay Builds, if you are seeing this, hit me up. I would love to be able to add a working payload into this map, but just simply don't have the knowledge or skills to do so. Now this was a compromise that was not made easily, but when I realized I could not have the game mode be accurate to TF2, I settled and turned it into an attack/defend map. One team will have to capture all the control points that are located at the same spots the checkpoints are. Blue will have to capture all 4 points in order to win. The second point will not be enabled until the first point has been captured. And while it's not what I wanted, the control points work as a perfectly fine substitute. And that's about everything. The map code will be on screen and has probably been on screen for the entire video in some random corner. If you encounter any glitches or have any critiques, you can leave them in the comments and I will most certainly give them a read. If you want to see more TF2 in Fortnite, you can watch my videos recreating Harvest and 2 Fort. And if you're interested in anything Fortnite, please consider checking out my other videos, please! If you're buying anything in the Fortnite item shop, don't forget to use code BO to support me. Like this video and subscribe and blah blah blah. Thank you for watching.